Okay, thank you. Where's my gavel? Call you to order, please. Thank you. We're under considerable time frame because there's a jug of beer resting on the length of time this committee is going to take. And I'm not going to tell you what the parameters of the bet are because I don't want to be frustrated in winning that jug of beer. And in welcoming you to this meeting, I want to make a special reference to welcoming Stephen Hall as our new director responsible for the oversight of the Catchment Resilience Committee. Welcome him to his new role, and encourage him to acknowledge that this is clearly the most important committee, overseeing our highest priority in terms of responsibility as a council. We have no apologies. We have no conflicts of interest. We've got no public forums, no extraordinary and urgent business, no notices of motion, and we have the minutes in front of us. Can I have a mover to confirm the minutes from the Catchment Resilience Committee meeting held on the 2nd of August? Peter, you're happy to move that. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Claire. Are there any discussions around the minutes? I would just note that on page 13 of the minutes, the committee chair and deputy chair, there were some things that we're trying to achieve this in the near run, and most of those have been discussed in terms of our long-term plan deliberations, and which has involved the whole committee. So we should be aware of all those issues. Any other discussion around the minutes? Can I put the motion then, please? All in favour? These are. Thank you. So we move to 8.1, Catchment Resilience Committee Resolution Status Report, and Jessie Burgess, please. Again, the report has been tabled. All resolutions have been labelled as complete. Are there any questions? In which case, thank you, Jessie. You may now leave the table. And I shall put the motion that updated staff recommendation. The Catchment Resilience Committee notes the status of previous resolutions provided in the Catchment Resilience Committee Resolution Report, November 2023. Thank you, Jan. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Claire. We have a mover and a seconder. Is there any discussion of the recommendation? No. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carry. Thank you. 8.2. Catchment Resilience Committee Quarterly Work Programme Update. Lee Griffith, would you please come forward? I note Kate Rutherford was going to be assisting on this, and I see that she's online. Should we require her expertise? Report has been tabled. We've all had a good look at it. Are there any questions for Lee? Peter?
Yeah, just a clarification under 9. I note the seasonality of the work that you're undertaking. Are you still pretty confident you'll stay on track for budget, Lee?
Is that in regards to the Braided River program financial implications? Yes, we are confident we'll still be on budget.
Claire?
Just on page 22, just regarding target 26.3, and I'm not sure because it is mentioned in later pages, a later page as well, around the gravel management strategy being reviewed, and that's obviously some ongoing discussions that are mentioned in a following paper. I think it's the following paper. I'm just wondering, there has been a suggestion that this could possibly become part of an RPS itself. When are we likely to have a little bit more clarity around that, with possibility or process around that option?
So what staff have done is the key engagement questions for both the gravel management strategy and the 100-year Braided River Revival Whakamutunga Awa Pākehī strategy has been wrapped into the current engagement campaign for the RPS. And once we get all that feedback, we're currently looking is it efficient to have everything in one place, or do we continue with separate strategies?
Thank you. I've got a follow-up question, but I'll leave it till the next paper where I think it's actually mentioned. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Any further questions for Lee? Grant?
Just a quick question. There was a presentation, I think it was August, on the hydraulics under our braided rivers. Is that work going to be coming through as part of this gravel strategy? Is there any effect on that, or we need to reconsider some of the issues involved in that?
Our science and river staff are currently looking at all the technical information available and where the gaps are, and it will be considered as part of our management of gravel.
Turn that on. Can I put the motion then? The Catchment Resilience Committee receives the work program report for Q1 2023-24 for the Braided River Revival program, the Biodiversity and Biosecurity Portfolio, and the leading Flood and River Resilience Program, and the Climate Change and Community Resilience Portfolio. Do I have a mover for that? Thanks, David. And thank you, Craig, for seconding. David East. Craig Pauling. Is there any discussion of the motion, Grant?
Just quickly, I just want to note item 4 on page 18 that for the benefit of the public or anything, that through these programs we are creating landscape scale alignment to revive our critical ecological corridors from the mountains to the sea and restore connections between people and rivers. I think that's really important. It's exciting, and it means that we are progressing towards a transitional approach to our river management. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Grant. Any other comment before I put the motion? I should put the motion then. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. You have to pay for the beer. 8.3. 8.3. Catchment Resilience Committee report, and calling Lee back up to the table, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to take the paper as read if you're comfortable with that.
So questions of clarification, Dion.
Yeah, on page 26.22, cheapest creepers, I just about spilled coffee all over me. It talks about the public engagement on the draft Rakitata revival strategy closed in October. Does that include because I've just heard some noises around the landowners feeling left out. Is that public engagement, or is that something else? And is there a clear strategy about engaging those landowners moving forward?
So the engagement on the Rakitata revival strategy was full public consultation. The landowner noise, which we've acknowledged and have apologised to them actually, which is fair enough, is around there's been some work happening specific to the South Branch. While we were getting the partnership piece and the revival strategy set up, the landowners weren't directly involved in that. We do now have a public workshop with the landowners led through our Rating District Chair, Rob Wilson, on the 22nd of November for a full afternoon. So they are happy with the fact that they get personal engagement with staff and key partners and stakeholders then.
To follow up, you're absolutely confident that moving forward that there'll be that full engagement with that group of people and others around the landowners there?
We engaged with them really well through our River Rating Committee. We're not sure post the 22nd of November what our work program specific for the South Branch looks like. We don't have any large scale funding for the Rakitata once shovel ready ends. We'll have our rating district model and our commitment to complete the Rakitata revival plan. What we're hoping to do is keep that South Branch Forum alive, which does now have landowner representation, particularly because it's one of the few forums where all the infrastructure parties are actually engaging with us. So we've got NZTA, KiwiRail, the RDR, RSIL, the irrigation table companies at the table as well. So if anything, going forward, keeping that going, even if it's just once or twice a year, is really handy if there's another big flood. But we don't have any large scale goods and services or physical funding for transformation on the ground of the South Branch, but we're aware of our partners' aspirations. They've been very clear that they would like to look at water going down there, but we're just facilitating the discussion on that at this stage. ECAN hasn't taken a position on this.
Thanks, Dion, and I would just agree with your concerns, because the landowners have reflected that the draft revival strategy has huge implications for the landowners down the lower Rangitata, and they haven't been part of that discussion process, so they are really concerned with some justification. Right.
Just quickly, Lee, do we have these projects identified through our website, say in terms of public notifications and photographs and a general sort of blurb for information? Is that something we do?
There is a Braided River Revival section on our website. The complication with the Rakatata one is the landing page is actually the DOC website. So there's a link from our website to that website, because that one's a joint strategy through their Ngā program. But we can look at, we can take an action to double check the information on there is good enough.
I think it'd be really useful. I think people like to know what we're doing. If they see some action somewhere, we can direct them where to go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Kia ora, Lee. Thanks for the report. It's good seeing all where we're at with everything. On page 29, the Rating District Program of Work, with all the Rating District meetings that you had over the period of September, and you've got the themes arising from it. What was the general reaction regarding probably looking at increasing the capital expenditure and, therefore targeted rates go up? Was mostly in agreement?
Yes, it was. So we had 13 of our most affected rating district committees meetings in September. We've got a couple more coming up this month and early next year. All but one agreed with the need to catch up on deferred maintenance and do additional infrastructure projects. The one that didn't agree did agree to use reserves, so they agreed to the outcome, but just to do it in a different way rather than increase rates.
In our OTP process and for each catchment. And the other thing, just on probably from those ones on the Horswell, I think page 33 on the Horswell Hurutini weed barrier replacement. I see that that's the one project that's being deferred, so to speak, from the shovel ready work and other things, overspend. I see there's an overspend, but what is the timeline on that now?
So we've just been given the draft conditions for a resource consent. So we had been waiting for final stakeholder sign off. There had been a couple of delays through the consent process, but it's now on track. So we're expecting that to be granted in the next couple of weeks. We have awarded the final construction tender. So the weed barrier is being procured and constructed early next year. We're hoping to have it done by April. We're having some backup conversations with the MB just in case, but it's we're on track at this stage for it to be installed and completed early 2024.
Thanks, Anna. If I could just reinforce Lee's remarks that the capital expenditure you'll see in the LTP, in the 30-year infrastructure in the LTP, pretty much reflects the advice coming from the liaison committees. Claire.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I've got 3 questions of clarity. Thank you. Just regarding on page 25, point 13, which is the 100-year regional river strategy, you talk about that we've had strategy has been scoped, initial feedback's been received, and objectives developed. Who was it that provided that initial feedback? How far and wide did that go?
It was councillors in Runanga last financial year, so that's referring to the level of service that we met last financial year.
Sorry. I'm just wondering, there is no update here around the Ashley Rakahuri strategy. I'm just wondering if you can tell us where that's at.
So that strategy has been stalled just while our partners are having a few resource issues. So we can't take that any further until we move forward with Runanga. So if we don't, we'll have to wait for them to resolve that. So that's just, they've had a few staff leave at the entity, as I understand it. We're hoping to finish the Rakatata this financial year. So if we don't get the Ashley Rakahuri resolved, we'll start another river in the interim to keep the staff occupied and engaged.
Okay. I'd just encourage that conversation. Some of the locals are really keen on knowing what's happening there. On page 26, point 26 on and 27 on page 27 refers to the NEMA, to our flood relief and the NEMA funding. Now I'm well aware that because of the way these things are calculated, we don't actually get the 60%. Is the organisation, are you as staff trying to push for that 60%, because it's a huge impost back on the organisation, particularly in the bigger the event, bigger the impost, isn't it, that lands back here and that NEMA doesn't pick up.
So all flood affected councils, particularly those in the North Island, are having this conversation with NEMA at the moment. The current arrangement is 60-40. In reality, it's more like 40-60 because a number of costs are ineligible. So it's not something we're winning at the moment, but there's a number of councils pushing that to make it work as it reads on paper.
Thanks, Claire. Look.
Tēnā koutou. Can we, page 31, point 64, question of clarity. A cross-functional team environment Canterbury staff are continuing discussions with Whakamutunga on regional approach to gravel management. Who are they actually discussing that? Who in Whakamutunga? Is it chairs? Is it tangatiaki committee chairs?
There was a working group set up under the chairs. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called. Through Timatanga.
So, and this comes back to Councillor Mackay's question as well around the Rakuuri. So, one of the issues there is, I'm just wondering if you guys are aware of it, is that during the inanga season, whitebait season, they continue to do gravel extraction or whatever they do further up the river. Not very good when you're whitebaiting, further down. So that was one of the, we attended a Tuahuriri Tangatiaki meeting last week, and that was one of the issues. So I'm just wondering if you're, with all of that, is that because Tuahuriri have a resourcing kind of problem, and then they can't address anything like this particular point?
No, this is a separate operational issue. So on the Ashirakahuri, gravel contractors aren't supposed to be working in the water. So we're aware of some complaints externally of some dirty water on the river, which staff are following up. Contractors are allowed to work above State Highway 1 on the Waimakariri Awa in the water. That doesn't seem to affect whitebaiters as much, but we're looking into what happened on the Ashley because they shouldn't be in the water.
Thank you. So just to make the point, there are two big issues there. The Dakin pollution problem is one, and this one here just compounds everything. So let's make that point. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Karakia. Any other questions or clarification for Lee? In which case, I'll thank you, Lee, for your. Oh, sorry. Yep. Quick.
Hey, thanks, Lee. Just going to the 100-year regional river strategy. Just again, is that going to be like a document that's going to be consulted on, or how does that land with us? And I know that we're looking to weave that into the RPS, but just trying to get enough sort of tangible thing in my mind about what we'll see from that.
I think we'll have a really clear suggestion for what the tangible outlook of it is once the engagement's complete. Perhaps I'll suggest for the April meeting we bring back more information specifically on where that strategy is at and next steps.
And can I follow up, Ian? Is it all right? Similar on the land strategy, like I know that it says early 2024, but again, is that going to be a document that we get that comes to council? We're going to get a briefing at some point in the new year. Is that?
Our plan is to have a briefing early in 2024 specific on the land strategy and the forestry and other chapters under it.
Thanks, Craig. Look, did you want to have another crack?
Karamai, I did have another question, so I'll just add that now to here. It's to do with Te Runanga o Waihao. What they keep telling me is that why is the Waihao River not classified as a braided river?
Apologies, I think it is. I'm not sure. I can check where the classification is, but it is a braided river to me.
Thank you, Chair.
I think I've lost my bet already.
I know in the MFE update there, the funding we got, there's a project in there about coastal flood mitigation, which is really great to see some money to help us with that issue. But in particular, I've got a few. There's the two that are in my mind about out at Taumutu and the hui we had with the landowners, the council's Salon District and ourselves being there, and the other ones, the Browns Beach ongoing stuff. So just is there a little update you can provide us about that, or when will we get an update about those things?
So staff are working, the commitment we made at the Tamutu Hui, which was 3 and a bit months ago, was that we would go back with an option summary paper that covered resource consents or permission pathways or obstacles, any environmental issues, and engineering options, including costs of how much per metre it costs to build a bank or move shingle and that type of thing. We also made a commitment to do that for the Opihi, Arari, Browns Beach area. So staff have 80% completed that, and we're hoping to have an internal review in the next 2 weeks. We're then hoping to go back to particularly the Tamutu group, which included landowners and partners and other interested parties by the end of November. The bit that staff haven't done, which I apologise for, has gone back to that group and explained why it's a month behind. So yeah, it is assurance that it is happening, but it is a little bit delayed.
So we expect
Any other questions for Lee? Just before you go, Lee, there was a question that came forward from Grant, I think it was from you, about managing or options for land use within our regional parks. And as I understood it, but I may have this wrong, that was going to be an issue that we picked up as this committee and came back and had a briefing on it or a workshop. Do you have a time frame for that?
We can include that as part of our Ecan Land briefing, because like forestry, region parks is another chapter of the Ecan Land strategy, which we'll bring to you in early 2024.
Okay, that sounds good. It's probably a combination of financial issues related to management as well. So yeah, so next year.
So if we coincide, look, I'll take advice from Stephen, but if we coincided that as a briefing before our next Catchment Resilience Committee meeting, would that satisfy your timeframes?
The request came through audit, finance and risk, so it'll probably need to perhaps go back through, but I think we can maybe discuss what's the best way of handling that.
Thank you, Lee. You can go home. Thank you. Not with Lee. Which leaves me to move to put the recommendations that the Catchment Resilience Committee endorses the following actions. Environment Canterbury will complete the majority of physical work and flood recovery, weather permitting, by the 31st of December 2023, with a project final completion date of June 24. And Environment Canterbury will complete climate resilience program shovel-ready projects by the end of December 23, excluding the exempted Horsell Huratini weed screen project. Thank you, Jan. Craig, second. Any discussion of the motion? In which case I shall put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. The next Catchment Resilience Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, the 17th of April. And I would report that I will have lost my bet, and I'm blaming Councillor Karakia, who I had the bet with, who went out of his way to prolong the meeting with an endless discussion on white baiting on the Ashley River, which was a dirty tactic. So I will now declare the meeting closed and thank everybody for their participation.